Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for around about the next half hour. I'm joined by Jackie, who will be sat in the background, helping to with any questions that you might have as well. So we're looking at salary journals and how you go about manually entering your payroll information into Sage 50 Cloud accounts this afternoon. So around about half an hour for the demo. We'll be picking up questions along the way, and then we'll hang around for any outstanding questions at the end as well. So keep them coming. As usual, loads of information available to support you within our help center. Now, I'm missing a slide there for some reason. So just to let you know, obviously, if you don't need a microphone for these sessions, if you've got one and you've enabled one, you will automatically be muted. So you'll not be able to unmute yourself either. Now that means you can't verbally ask any questions, but you will be able to type them into the questions panel. You can't currently see the questions panel in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Then all you need to do, just on your toolbar down the right, you've got a little icon, it looks like a speech bubble containing a question mark. Give it a click, you'll get the little box and you can start typing any questions that you might have for us. So anything you're not sure of, pop it in there and we'll try and I'll try and either answer that myself or maybe include it in the demonstration, or Jackie will provide an answer for you, possibly point in the direction of the help center as well. Okay, let's have a quick look at what we're going to be covering. So a little bit of a background to posting manual salary journals, first of all. It's one of those topics that raises its head quite often for people contacting our support team, people getting mixed up, and obviously it's posting journals. So if you aren't familiar with debits and credits, that can be sometimes a battle in its own right. So it could be anything from how to maybe not balancing, how do you post it, why do you post it, not realizing that you needed to post it. So it can be a number of reasons. So a little bit of background first of all. We'll then look at the preparation steps. So not a lot to that one. We'll look at posting salary journals and maybe pick up on a number of the options that you have available for you as well. We'll look at making your payments as well. So when you're actually ready to, and you need to sort of show that the fact that you've paid your net wages, you've paid HMRC, that type of thing. We'll show you how you record that within your software. And I also want to touch on payroll integration as well. So if you are using Sage 50 Cloud Payroll, then you can actually integrate that with Sage 50 Cloud accounts. And we run a separate session on that one as well. So there's a live webinar, and we've got a couple of those planned for the month of July. So watch out for your follow-up email, and it'll include the link so you can get yourself registered for one of those as well. Heidi, you mentioned there, is there a handout? I did have one. Let me just see if I can quickly pop that on for you. So I do have a copy of the slides. I'll just pop that into the handouts folder. Apologies for that one. So, and again, these are just copies of the slides. All of the latest information you'll always find available within our help center. So really, we just publish a copy of the slides available as the handout. Beyond that, get yourself into the help center. That's where you'll find all the step-by-step guides. Right, anyway, so we'll talk about payroll integration, and then we will just maybe give you a bit of a plug for some of the upcoming webinars that we've got scheduled in as well. Right, let's get started. So a little bit of an introduction, a little bit of background first of all. So why do you post salary journals? Well, basically it's all about keeping your accounts accurate. So ideally you would do this at the end of each payroll period. Now some of you will post weekly, fortnightly, monthly, 4-weekly. Those are all common pay periods. Now, normally you would do this for each pay period. Some of you may just do it monthly, and some of you may have a mix of pay periods as well. So the idea is you'll post this salary journal to update your accounts, to include the payments that you're making for wages, deductions, national insurance, pay as you earn, all of that, just to keep your accounts accurate. Now, as far as preparing, all you really need as far as preparing or preparation within your accounts is actually concerned is to make sure you've got the right nominal codes for the elements of your payroll that you need to post. Now, some of these you will need. There's a really comprehensive list available in our help center, and I'll cover that in a bit more detail a little bit later on. So this is just maybe some of the standard examples. So one for pay-as-you-earn, national insurance. We've got some of the default numbers there as well on the list. But generally speaking, you'll have a set of balance sheet nominal codes for your payroll, and also a set of profit and loss codes. Now, the numbers that you use can be totally different, but you just need to make sure all elements of your salary journal that you're about to post has an available nominal code. If you need to know how to create nominal codes, so which number to choose, again, the article within our help center is a fantastic resource for you. I'll sort of guide you through how you can get at that information a little bit later on as well. But really, it's just a case of making sure you've got those codes available to you. Now, what you post against what, value-wise, that can sometimes be a problem in itself. So where do you debit, where do you credit, and have I included the right information? So where do you get that information from? It's going to be from whoever does your payroll. They would need to provide the relevant values for you. It's almost like you just got almost like a skeleton journal entry that you're going to fill in the values for. And again, there are different options for this as well. Right, now, as far as posting your salary journals, and we're going to go through one in just a moment. So you've got a number of options. So as it mentions in the title, it's all about journals. So you can either manually enter that by going into nominal codes and then journals. If you're on Sage 50 Cloud Accounts Professional, you also have a memorize and recall option. So that can make it a little bit easier if you are manually entering your journal information. You also have an import option as well. Now that might be a route you decide to go down. Can you provide your colleague who does the payroll, if it's not yourself, can you provide them with the audit trail transaction template and get them to fill in the values for you? Is it a bookkeeper that does that for you, or maybe like a payroll bureau? Can they provide and complete this audit trail template for you? You just import it. So I'm going to show you what that sort of looks like in a moment as well. And as I mentioned, you've got the potential, if you are using Sage 50 Cloud Payroll, of integrating it using the nominal link. Now, we do have a couple of live webinars planned in for that in July. So again, watch out for the follow-up email if you are interested in getting yourself registered for one of those. Corrections, so if you make a mistake, the options that you have available will depend on how the journal was entered. So I'll try and pick up on that a little bit as well. Anyway, let's get stuck into the demo. So I'll share my screen at this point. So we're in Sage 50 Cloud Accounts. I'm in 28.1. If anyone's looking and I think looks maybe a little bit different, it will do. Little color schemes, little tweaks here and there as well. If you haven't got 28.1, if it's something that you are entitled to, it is available to download now, and you'll find more information available via a help center. You might even on your home page have this link, install now. Some will, some won't. So it is available to download. If you want to see more information about the features, get yourself signed up for one of our version 28.1 webinars as well. We run those on a regular basis as well, proven very popular. But anyway, we're going to look at posting our salary journal. Now, assuming we've got the relevant nominal codes entered, so we got them available within our nominal codes list, and we've been provided with the values that we need, then really we're ready at that point to enter our journal. Now, as you'll see at the moment, if I just quickly pop into transactions, I've got nothing entered in my account at all at this stage. The reason for that, I just want to see be able to show you the impact that the journal's going to have when I post it. So we'll go back to nominal codes. I'm going to go into journal entry, pop in a reference, whatever you want that to be. So you might put the month in, or salary and the month, or the pay period, whatever you want it to be. Pop in your date. So it's going to pick up your posting date by default. Now I'm going to say this relates to let's say the 24th. And then we come down to the nominal codes. So this is where we need to fill in the detail of the journal itself. So I've got a standard journal, so I'm just going to key it in. I'll try and maybe, it's not a massive journal. Obviously, salary journals, it's not uncommon to see journals which are 100 lines long. It just depends on how much of a breakdown that you need. So you might have different values that you need to show separately, but possibly even go into the same nominal code, just so you can give it different details. So I've just got a nice short one. So first one, I'm going to start with the balance sheet codes. So generally the balance sheet codes that you'll use are going to be in the 2000 range. So pay as you earn. I'm going to ignore the extra reference and I'll just pop in some details. Again, keeping it nice and simple, I'll just say PAYE. Now, generally salary journals, always going to use your non-vatable tax code. Journals should pick that up by default. So T9 if you're using just a standard set of data, unless of course you've changed that value or that tax code. And what you'll basically do is pop that balance generally as a credit. So you're establishing that liability. This is what you've deducted from the payroll in the form of PAYE. So we're establishing a liability that later on will be sure that when you actually make the payment to HMRC, we'll show you how you would enter that into the software as well. So we'll do 2211, which is National Insurance nominal code. I'll just put NI. And one of the common mistakes when people are forming their journal is to think this relates to the employer's national insurance only. But it's actually the employee NI deductions plus the employer. So that's something to be aware of. Quite common, people will contact our support team and say, right, I'm out by this value. It's the equivalent to the employee's national insurance. And just they haven't included it in that NI posting. Again, you might show that as two separate lines going to the same nominal code, but you might show it as two separate lines. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to show it as the one. Next, we're going to see we've got some student loan deductions. I'll just abbreviate that one, just for speed. See, there's £190 in there. Let's say we've got some deductions. Now, you might have deductions, attachments. Again, there can be a lot of quite a range of potential nominal codes that you might need for your payroll. So you might have deductions, you might have attachments, you might have different attachments of earnings. So you might set up a nominal code for each of them. Right, so we'll just call it deductions. Again, I'm going to put that value in there, so 250 in my case. And then the final one I'm going to show for my balance sheet is for net wages. So this will be the amount that I'm physically paying out in the form of net wages to the employees themselves. Oh, helps if you type it into the correct column. We'll just see net wages. Again, T9, they should all be T9 in this instance. Pop in the value in the credit column. So what we've done there is we're posting a series of credits, again, establishing those liabilities. And what we'll be doing when we pay those off, we'll be essentially zeroing them back down. So when we make the payment for pay as you earn, national insurance, student loan deductions across to HMRC, we'll be essentially making a payment to that nominal code, which will bring that back to zero, assuming you're paying everything off in full. Now, when we come on to the profit and loss side of the journal, again, you're probably going to have quite a mix of nominal codes, and some of it will be determined by the type of salary it's for. So for what you would term your direct expenses, your productive labour, as it were, which that's what I've got my nominal code called. So you'll find that in the 6,000 range. So I'm going to say that's, let's just say salaries. Salaries. We'll try that one again. And this time we're going to be, generally we're going to be debiting these nominal codes. What we've also got for salaries, maybe more what you would class as an overhead, maybe more of your admin type salaries, director salaries, etc. You're going to put that normally in the 7,000 range. Again, a lot of it will be determined by, can't type today at all. A lot of it will be determined by your classification. Where do you want that salary information to appear? And then the final line I'm going to put on here is just against my 7,006, which is by default my employer's NI. Again, you may have different nominal codes for your sort of employer's NI for different salary or different types of salaries. Directors going to one, non-directors going to another. It really just depends on the analysis that you want. I'll just put NI in that one. Again, T9, pop in the amount, and that's my journal done at that point. So it all balances at that point. And you can see we've got total debits, total credits, which are equal to each other. If they weren't equal, obviously it's not going to let us save that. As they do balance, I can click save at that point. And that's my salary journal entered. So a quick question from Helen there as well. Do you need to separate the employee and the employer's national insurance? So it's up to you. You would normally show that. So the employer's contributions, you would normally show that, probably combine that value as we did on the journal as far as the balance sheet. On the profit and loss side, the expense to the business, the one that's going to build up, is just the employer contribution only. Whereas the salary information that you've posted to the likes of 6,000 or 7,000, that what you're actually paying the actual employees, their NI, obviously that's all included as part of their salary. Obviously you would be deducting that one. So that's where you would split it on the balance sheet side. I hope that makes sense. It can be a little bit confusing, the employee and employer. Right, now if we just close out of here, and before I show you things like memorize and recall, how to import maybe as a shortcut, what I'm going to do at this point is I'm within the nominal codes, and if I just run a trial balance as at today's date, I'll just run it for the current financial year, you'll see all I've got entered is literally that journal that I've entered. So basically the profit and loss, so the 6,000, 7,000 and 7,006, that's going to just accumulate over the course of the financial year. So those values are going to just grow. That's going to track the expense to the business. What we've done here is on the balance sheet side, that's going to essentially establish a balance when you post that journal, and then when you pay off that, so you pay your net wages or you pay the national insurance or the pay as you earn across to HMRC, that will then zero that back down. So you've essentially paid off the liability, as it were. But that's what we can see at the moment. Obviously, from a profit and loss perspective, we just quickly run that one. Can I just run it for the full financial year? We've got two figures in there. Now I've got one in direct expenses and I've also got one in overheads. Now in this case, the one in the overheads, in fact both, they're what you would term drillable values. So again, it's using the chart of accounts. And in this case, if I click on the 5300, what it does is it drills down. And it drills down to say, right, this 5,300 is made up of these two balances. So it's showing me the nominal codes that are contributing to that balance. Now, if you aren't familiar with that type of thing, what I would recommend you do is watch the Chart of Accounts webinar. So watch the Chart of Accounts webinar, there's recording available, and also the management report session, and you'll have a much better understanding of why they're grouped and where the figures come from. And also, if we quickly pop onto the balance sheet, again, at this stage, we'll see the current liabilities that we've entered so far. Now, when you're ready to pay that off, so when you make your payment to HMRC, now that might be collected via direct debit. So you might have that set up with HMRC. So when it's collected or you make the payment and you want to record that in your accounts, we come into the bank accounts area. What we're going to do is I'm going to choose the payments option and choose bank payment. You might actually have that shown as a separate options on your toolbar at the top. Choose the bank account that you're making the payment out of. I'll just accept today's date, pop in a reference, say HMRC, nominal code. So the first element of that I'm going to pay is the PAYE. So 2210. And the value was 2270. And again, this would be classed as a non-vatable transaction. So T9 by default. So there should be nothing in the tax column. Now I'm going to continue down to the next line. I'm just making one payment, but there are three elements to that. Oh, 2211 this time. Oh, I'm keying it into the wrong column. I'm getting carried away now. Right. So got the same bank, same date, and I want it to be the same reference. Now, rather than type it in, I could just press F6 or click on the button at the top. Whatever's in the box above, it'll copy that down. Again, I'll leave the extra reference blank, pop in the relevant nominal code this time. I'll just say NI, pop in the value, which was 1860, and again, T9. And then the final line, make sure I put the bank account number in this time. Again, F6, tab into the nominal code column. Again, I'll just pop an abbreviation in that one, and that was 190. And again, T9. So I'm making a total payment to HMRC of 4320, but I've broken it down into the three items because the way the grouping works in Sage Accounts, same bank accounts, they're consecutive on the list, the transactions as well. So I've entered them at the same time, same bank account, same date, and same reference. When I save that, it's going to group them together. So when I look at the likes of my bank reconciliation window, all I'm going to see is one payment for the total value. But if you were to drill down on it, you would see the individual items. So I'll save that one, close out. And what I'll quickly do, I'm just going to go back to nominal codes at this stage and have a look at the trial balance. So we'll just preview it again. And this time what we've got, you'll see, as far as the balance sheet is concerned, the pay as you earn, the national insurance, and the student loan deductions nominal code, that has been zeroed out. So that's the idea of the payment. So you're posting the journal, establish the expense on your profit and loss, establish the liability, and then when you're making the payment, you're paying off that liability. So generally, it will zero it out, assuming, of course, that you are paying it off in full. So that's salary journals. Yes, it can be a lot more complex than what I've just covered, but there are some shortcuts. Now, the first shortcut I want to mention is when you are doing your journal, you've got a memorize and a recall option. You do not have this option available to you if you are on the essentials level, or if you are on the standard level of Sage 50 Cloud accounts. If you are on Plus, if you're using an older one, or you are on the professional level, which is really the only supported level currently that has that available to you, you will have this option available to you. So memorize and recall. And what it means is that when I entered that journal earlier, what I can do is I can save it as what we would term a skeleton, so a memorized journal. What that means for future postings, and you've got this available in a few different areas within your software, is that you can go to recall and you can load the file. Now you've got some, if you are on the professional level, you will have some of these standard, these memorized journals already set up for you. So I can select it, and it might be one that you've created yourself, and then I can just load that. What it does is it loads essentially the structure for me, and all I would need to do is essentially fill in the values. So I'm not having to type in the nominal codes each and every time. There may be some lines that don't have a value. If that was the case, say for instance there was no SSP reclaimed in a certain period, well, what I can do is I can just highlight that line, press F8, and it discards that line, move everything up one. It'd just be a case of me filling that in at that point. Obviously, it can be a little bit quicker. There may be some instances when you're posting journals, not necessarily salary journals, but other journals, where the values are exactly the same each period. Again, you could recall it. You might have even saved it with the values on there. All you do is make any minor changes and then save it. So that's one way of making it a little bit quicker. The other is to import your information. So I mentioned earlier, if you've got someone that can maybe complete the audit trail transactions templates, can they provide you with a file which looks like, if I get back to my desktop, so can they provide you with an Excel file, just opened on my other screen, that looks a bit like this. This is the audit trail transactions template that comes with Sage 50 Cloud accounts. Again, there's more information about importing transactions. We've got a recorded webinar on that one. So if you want to see it in detail and find out more about how you go about doing it, that's what you do. But this one already has, essentially this is a journal. Now it might be that someone provides me with this, so I don't need to manually key in the information. I can import it instead. So all I would need to maybe do, make sure the date's right. Obviously it's got a balance, so I can import it, but it could be as simple as, rather than me manually entering the journal that we looked at earlier, it could be as simple as importing that file. So just quickly running through that one, loading the data import wizard, following the steps through, selecting the file that contains my information, and then just working through the wizard, clicking imports, and it brings the details of that journal in. So I'm not sitting there keying it in. So is that something that maybe you could provide that template and get someone, say, whoever does your payroll, could they fill that in for you? They just then provide you with that file with all the information entered, and you just import that information. So again, if I just go back to transactions, there's the 3-line bank payment that I did earlier, transactions 9, 10, 11, and from 12 to 19, that's the journal that I've just imported. Again, journals could be sort of, I suppose, got to be a minimum of 2 lines, but it could be any number of lines. So again, that's another option for you. Now, one of the other options we did mention earlier was if you are using Sage 50 Cloud Payroll. Now, if I just pop back to the slide for a moment, just to quickly mention this one. So if you are using Sage 50 Cloud Payroll and Sage 50 Cloud accounts, you can essentially integrate those via the nominal link. So rather than sit manually entering your payroll information, when you process your payroll in Sage Payroll, you can then say as part of that process, right, I want to post what's termed the nominal link. So essentially it will post that journal automatically into your accounts for you. Again, means that potentially if you don't do the payroll, you don't need to get involved with that process. It just posts the journal directly in. So again, good little time saver, that one. It's a one that people tend not to be aware of for some reason. Now there is a live webinar that we are running twice throughout the month of July. So if you are interested, watch out for your follow-up email and it'll include the link that you need to get yourself registered. Now I just want to quickly pick up on corrections for a moment. So if you have made a mistake with your journal, if you've posted it manually, or you've used the memorize recall option, or even if you've used the import option, you can edit your journal. So that original journal that I posted, for instance, if I'd posted something to the wrong nominal code, I could highlight a line of that journal, click edit, and it would load that journal that I've entered. And at that stage, I can make amends. So maybe I forgot to change the date. I can change the date to whatever it should have been. Maybe I've posted the national insurance. Maybe I've posted this value when it should have been to the balance sheet nominal code. Maybe I've posted it to the employer's NI nominal code on the profit loss. So you've posted it the wrong place. So again, you could come in and you could correct that. So do be aware of that one. Easy to correct these days if you have posted journals. Not that long ago, you would have had to reverse that out or post another journal to amend that one manually. So it's quite forgiving these days. And of course, if you've taken a backup beforehand as well, you could have always restored to get back to that point in time. That's another way of essentially undoing your journal, but it would take you back to that point in time. That's something to be aware of. Right, let's quickly pop back to the slides. If I can get the mouse to work. In fact, just before I do that, I just want to quickly show you the Help Center. So loads of information in the Help Center. If I just bring up my browser, you can access the Help Center in a number of different ways. Either just go to sage.co.uk/help and then choose your product. So Sage 50 Cloud Accounts will take you to this page, or you can access it directly from within your software. Now, as far as salary journals is concerned, loads of information in here. So just type literally in the search box, salary journals, click search, it'll bring up a number of results for you. This is the one that I mentioned earlier. What are the default salary nominal codes? Now, I just mentioned a few. So if you have a look at this, so if there's anything that you don't have, so for instance, did someone mention apprenticeship levy beforehand or employment allowance? That type of thing. Have a look through this. See what's listed. It'll give you the recommended number. If you've already got that number used for something else, maybe just give it the next available number. But this will give you a great big list of the nominal codes that you're likely to use. So do check through that. Again, if you're not sure beyond that, just get in touch with our support team. Also on here, if you want to find out more about actually posting journals themselves, I think it's on page 2, this one, Record a Salary Journal, the UK version. So if you click on that one, now this is quite a lengthy article, this one, because there's a lot to payroll. I've just picked on a very simple example today. So as we go down through, it'll mention things like common abbreviations, etc. But as we get down to the journal element, so this bit here at the top is almost like these two sections, almost like equivalent of what I just posted, just to keep it nice and short and simple. But as you scroll down, there will be information about things like if you need to create a nominal code, posting salary journals, generally what you would debit, what you would credit. It doesn't matter what order when you're posting your journal either, that you put those nominal codes on. I tend to put mine in numerical order for some reason. If you've got pension information that you want to include, again, gives you an idea of the nominal codes you would use, which one you would debit, which one you would credit. SMP, SPP, SAP, Again, list of nominal codes, employment allowance. Helen, you mentioned that one, I think. I think Jackie's picked that one up for you. So again, it's got a little section on that one, apprenticeship levy, childcare vouchers, and a number of other useful bits of information on there. So do check that out, nice and easy to find. So we'll just search for salary journals. You should find it on there very easily. Right, let's quickly pop back to the slides. Keep your questions coming if you have any. And I just want to quickly take a moment just to mention some of the upcoming webinars that we've got. So if you are interested in coming along to one of the automated payroll postings using the nominal link, then we're running that one on the Tuesday, the 12th of July and Thursday, the 28th of July. If you've got any requests for topics you'd like to see covered, let us know. Pop it on the survey that appears as you leave the session. It's just a short survey. If you can take a minute to maybe share some thoughts, ideas, requests that you've got for topics you'd like to see covered, anything like that, pop it on there. Also, we've got the What's New in 28.1. I mentioned that one a little bit earlier, and loads of other topics coming up as well. We've got the VAT return. We've got that one actually at 3 o'clock today. So if you are interested in coming along to that one, if you are interested in attending the VAT return at 3 o'clock today, best way to do that, I'll just quickly share my screen, although because you'll not get the link in time, is within Sage 50. If you go to your home page and you've got on one of your panels is free webinars. If you give the more info button a click, it'll bring up the Help Center article for webinars, and you'll be able to get yourself registered for the VAT webinar at 3, as well as all the other topics we've got coming up as well. Otherwise, links will be included on your follow-up email, which you receive in round about an hour's time. And by the time you get that, the recording of today's session should be available as well, hopefully. If not, certainly by 5 o'clock today, you'll have that available too. But that brings us to the end of the session, unless, of course, you have any additional questions. So, a bit of a short one today. Can be quite a complex topic, and one that you can maybe get stuck on here and there, and you might have queries here and there, but once you've done it a few times, it should be straightforward. But obviously that help information is there to support you. If you're not sure what you're doing beyond the help information, get in touch with our support team in the usual way. But thanks for coming along, appreciate it. Hope you have enjoyed it and you found it useful. If you've got any feedback for us, do let us know. That survey will pop up as you leave the session today. It'd probably not even take you a minute to complete that. So if you can do that, that would be really appreciated. It's always nice to know whether we hit the mark, or did you find it too confusing? Was it too fast, too slow? And as you probably imagine, we get all sorts of feedback on there. So any feedback you have, always good for us to read that. So we'll just hang around for about another minute or two, just see if any questions do come through. If not, we'll just end the webinar at that point. If you are leaving, thanks for coming along. Take care, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you on some of our future sessions. Just going to mute my line for a minute, just while we just see if any additional questions do come through, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so still no additional questions coming through, so I think we're ready to end the webinar at that point. If you think of anything after you've left the session, remember the Help Centre is available to you 24/7, and of course there's our support team as a backup. Thanks for coming along, take care, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you again. Many thanks.